From the open season property studio, welcome to SuperTalk Outdoors, where we celebrate every single Monday at lunchtime the world class outdoors of the state of Mississippi because we live in the capital of the outdoors in America. I love saying that every single week. Hey, listen, I want to wish everybody a happy New Year's as we get into the new year, and we are into some great hunting here on January the 6th, 2024. I can't help but think about that Bing Crosby song, Baby, It's Cold Outside. I mean, you know the song. And it is cold. We finally got some great cold weather down the middle of America. And it's already, at least based on the report I got this morning, it's already pushing some ducks down. Maybe it'll be like this through the rest of January. I mean, certainly some of the forecasts said that we were going to have a cold January. And that's, this particular cold front looks like it might settle in a little bit and maybe have some reinforcing aspects to it as we get through January. So ducks are coming to Mississippi, and I know my friend Houston Havens is from the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, head of the duck program. He's thrilled about that. Listen, for me, hunting season is about bringing family and friends together. It's a great opportunity for camaraderie to have my grandson and my sons and my best friends in the hunting camp so we can cook together and sit around the fire together and make memories together. I had my son Justin down from New York City. He works for Price Waterhouse in New York City on the international consulting team there. He went to Auburn and has had a terrific consulting career with Price Waterhouse. But he lives in New York City in the West Village. And he loves the big city. I don't think he'll ever move back to Mississippi. And thank God for fishing and hunting. And my wife Ann, who is as a mother to Justin, they have a terrific relationship. But if it weren't for Ann hunting and fishing, we might not ever see Justin. So he was down for Christmas, of course, and we spent some time with him in Biloxi. He and my son Jordan went and had some awesome fishing adventures together while he was here. Redfish and speckled trout, some of the best fishing they've ever experienced here in coastal Mississippi in the backwaters of Biloxi Bay. And they made some terrific memories. And then we went up to the camp together. And I got up there a little bit early with Justin, and then Jordan and my nephew Peter Bohanovich Jr. came up, and we just had us all together. My friend Mark Creech and then Travis Dunn and Jake Carter, my hunting son. I adopted Jake back, I don't know, back in when he was in his teens. I not literally adopted him, but his dad, Rick Carter, who owns Allen View Casino, and I are real good friends. And Jake doesn't hunt or fish. Excuse me, his dad doesn't hunt or fish. So Jake has been hunting and fishing with me most of his life, and he's 40 now, but he was with us. And my buddy Terry Waldrop. But we all hunted together, and my nephew Peter killed a beautiful 9-point together with while hunting with me. That's a great story in and of itself. But he'd only killed one other buck in his life. This one was by far his biggest. So many great memories, and that's what I look back. I really thank God for the iPhone because we can take a lot of pictures and make a lot of memories and remind ourselves. It's easy to forget about all those special moments, and that's what hunting's all about. It's not about the harvest. It's about spending time in the outdoors and teaching responsibility and loving the people around you. That's what it is for me. That is for sure. Hey, listen, we've got a great show today. Someone I've been really looking forward to talking to. I first learned about Thad Miller from my friend Chris Gurris, who's on the board for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks Foundation. And then over time, his company, Open Season Properties, became a major sponsor of this show. Now, look, we don't make as a prerequisite to him becoming a sponsor that he would have the opportunity to come on this show. That's completely my choice. But as I learned more about him and his duck hunting and hunting overall, because he hunts all over the place, I wanted to get to know Thad better. And I figured you might enjoy getting to know him well because he loves the outdoors like you do, like I do. And I wanted to get to know him better by having him on the show. So without any further ado, let me welcome my new friend, Thad Miller, to the Ricky Matthews, Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews. How you doing, Thad?
Thank you for having me, Ricky. I appreciate it.
You heard me say it's cold outside, man, but it sure is good to see that super cold weather right in the middle of the United States, isn't it?
It sure is. We needed a change.
So what kind of reports are you getting from your friends?
The ducks are moving on down. So Arkansas, Mississippi, we should be getting them in the next few days if they're not here now. So
Yeah, I got a great report from my buddy Travis Dunn this morning. They had an awesome hunt today on a lake where we had not been seeing many ducks. In fact, the last time he went, I don't think he actually saw a duck. But they had a great hunt this morning, and so we got new ducks showing up. And I had Houston Havens on recently. We got more water than we had last year, thank goodness. We've had good rain. We could use more, obviously, because there's some areas where it just I mean, listen, the drought for the most part continued for a couple of years, and that meant there were a lot of dry holes across the state of Mississippi. But the reports are really good. And listen, you love the outdoors. Where did your love of the outdoors come from?
from, as you said, from my family, my father and uncles and cousins, extended family. We all, it was just that was a rite of ritual, rite of passage to every male and female child. You were introduced to the outdoors at an early age, and most of us it stuck with, and we just have that passion to hunt, fish, and just anything outdoors. So.
Well, you ended up making a living out of it. I was interested to learn that you became a Marine along the way, and we'll tell that story here in just a second. But where did you grow up? Tell me about growing up and the kind of hunting and fishing that you did at an early age.
I grew up at the edge of the Delta, where the Delta and the hills collide there, out from Greenwood, Kruger, Sidon, Chula, all along the hill line there. And so I had the best of both worlds in the state of Mississippi. Is I got to hunt in the Delta and the hills because we were walking distance of both. So we, as a young child, we, many a miles with a 22 and just stayed outside my whole life. So when I did get to the military, it was like Forrest Gump said about peas and carrots. This was easy.
Hey, I love that part of the country. Incidentally, as you know, I hunted in Chula and have and had a camp in Sidon at one point. Uh, what a great. I mean, listen, just I often say on the show, for me, hunting, having been raised on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and having been hunting in the Mississippi Delta for many, many years, just the opportunity to go to the Delta, and you travel all over the world, but there's just something special about the Mississippi Delta, isn't there?
It is. I mean, you can't really describe it either. It's just gets in your blood, gets in your bones. It's just once you've experienced it, you want to introduce it to as many people as you can, and it's a special place for sure.
So that as you continue your hunting, life as an adult today, I mean, where does it take you? What kind of where do you give me a sense of, like, over the last couple of years, where have you hunted?
Well, I've been to Argentina with Chris a few times, and all out west. As my senior present, when I graduated high school, my father gave me a trip to Alaska, and actually sent me up in June before he went, and I stayed about a month trying to figure us a plan out for when he got up. We did a float trip, a 600-mile float trip, and it took us about 2 months, and it was one of those once in a lifetime trips that I wish I could have done that for my son, but he may have gone on this path that I did, so I wanted him to have a regular job and do regular things in life. But it's one of those deals that once it gets in your bones and in your blood, that's what I seek all the time is the next adventure, wherever that may take me. But it's going to be something outdoors.
You sound a little bit like my son Justin, who has been all over Europe. He lived in Spain for a period of time to learn Spanish. He went to the Ecuador. He's been all over South America. And he just turned 30. So he was never going to be the kid that was going to come back to coastal Mississippi, but adventure. In fact, I'd learn, we're at the end of this segment together. We'll come back on the other side. I mean, what do you learn during a multiple month float trip about life and yourself and so on? It's going to be interesting to hear that part as we continue our conversation with Thad Miller. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors, and like I said, Happy New Year to everybody. Listen, Open Season Properties is a full-service real estate company with a team approach philosophy that ensures your needs are the highest priority, whether it's rural land sales, residential or commercial properties. Open Season Properties markets and sells real estate in Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia. And they're dedicated to the development of long-term client relationships and unwavering commitment to service. Go to openseasonproperties.com to learn more. And speaking of Open Season Properties, I'm thrilled to have Thad Miller from Open Season Properties with us today as we just talk about our love of the outdoors. And as you're beginning to see, he's been around the block or two as it relates to the outdoors, having been hooked at an early age. But we went to break. We're talking about a long float trip that he took at an early age. What do you learn about life when you do something like that?
You learn your capabilities, and you learn a lot about what you can and can't do, and what you should and you shouldn't do. And when you spend that many nights in a tent and a campfire, it kind of grounds you to the world itself. So it no matter what you're going through, it can put you back in a line with where you need to be in the world. So I really enjoyed that, and it's affected my whole life from that one trip. My dad just passed about 2 months ago, and I reflect back on that a lot. Having all that time, because up until that point, I really didn't. Even though I spent a lot of time with my father, but when you're 2 months and it's just you and him and no other human in the world, you can cross a lot of bridges and really get close, and we did. So,
well, God bless you and your family. And sorry to hear that about your father's passing. But listen, my dad died when I was 21 years old. He was 44 years old, and I wish. I often think about him. Obviously, as you can imagine, I certainly do. But I often think about him as sort of being a guardian angel. And I think he watches me. I hope that he's proud of what he sees, but he certainly sees the influence of the outdoors that he had on me. We spent a lot of time squirrel hunting together and dove hunting together. We didn't deer or turkey hunt together because he didn't have access to that kind of stuff, but we spent a lot of time fishing together. Always had a boat. And I mean, the influencers are tremendous. I mean, the legacies that we're leaving for our kids as it relates to the outdoors, man, that's so important, isn't it?
it is. And of course I raised all my kids, hunting and fishing and all, and they all truly do love the outdoors, and my son and my daughter both, spend time with their children outdoors. And I, as a grandparent, I love to have them here and do the outdoor things that I grew up doing. So I want to pass it along.
It's super special. When did you decide you wanted to be a Marine?
Well, I was actually in the Navy, and all the medical personnel in the Marine Corps are Navy personnel. And so it was one of those by accident deals that I had joined the Navy to be a electronics technician, and being from the outdoors and all, I had gone so far as completing my A school and all that to be a electronic technician. And I got my orders to go to a brand new carrier at the time. It was back in World War II almost, but it was a brand new carrier that could only dock in two ports in the world. And I was going to be in a 5x5 cube on the ship, and unless you were E7 or above, you never would get, unless it was a 72-hour or longer liberty, you never got off the ship, and I knew I couldn't, being from where I was from, it was like being in prison if I had to do that, so I long story, but I ended up getting swapped over to, as kind of a punishment deal. I got swapped over to the corpsman so they could send me to the Marine Corps, because that was like if you, as a Navy personnel, if you get sent to the Marine Corps, that was punishment, So but it was like I said about Forrest Gump, it was like peas and carrots for me when I got put into the grunt unit, and it was just where I belonged, and really enjoyed my time in the service. So.
Well, congratulations for that, and thank you for your service. But what's interesting is it was kind of a continuation of what you learned living on a farm about how you have to be a good steward of the land, and you're the whole notion of land and its role in your life was really part of your DNA, wasn't it?
It was from, I tell everybody I'm born in the Delta. I got a watermark on right below my knee, for the seasonal floods that we had. So it's in your blood, or from where I'm at.
So Thad, when did you know that timber and timberland and just land in general was going to be something you were going to probably end up, staking your entire livelihood on?
My father actually dabbled in trading in land. He was in the construction business, but he also bought and sold, hunting properties along, kind of by accident, but he would buy a place that was and fix it up and eventually sell it, and so I enjoyed that aspect of it, and then when I got home, I got injured in the military, and for 2 years was on convalescent service. So I didn't have anything to do, and being a country boy from Mississippi, it was killing me to be cooped up in the house. So I begged my neighbor to take me along, and he was in the timber cruising business, and I would do whatever. I'd carry let me carry the bucket and the paint, and do whatever you needed me to do, just get me out of the house. And so over that 2-year period, I learned how to cruise timber, and when I come home, my father wanted me to take over the construction, or get involved in the construction business, and my heart was just set on what I had, being outside all the time. And even though I still have construction in my blood, the outdoors just was a stronger calling to me, and taking that and being able to make a living out of what I'd learned in cruising timber, and buying and selling land from my dad. It just all kind of came together, and that's what I did. Found a way to make it work.
What's been interesting about watching you grow open season properties has been, attracting young men like Jordan Blissett, who was a regular member of this show for years before he even joined your team, and Lake Pickle, who also had been a regular member of this team. What they're doing, what they've done through the Primos team, and then through the podcast, speaking to the entire United States, it's amazing what these young men have done, and their ability to communicate in a way that really attracts other hunters. And think about Austin Seals and Jordan, how they're working together in your business. But your ability to track young people like that, it's like there has to be sort of another thing they bring to the table. For example, Jordan, watching him on his social media posts on a bulldozer, for example, helping to make improvements on land, and then literally sharing hunting experiences on that land so you can maximize what is there. That really taps into sort of what you brought to the table when you came and decided to really touch young people in the way that you have. But it's a pretty cool thing to watch, isn't it?
It is, and I've enjoyed seeing those guys, do what they do, and it's a natural deal. It's just like Mr. Chris. There's nothing fake about it. It's, what you see is what you get, and you can't you can't fake that for too long. Somebody, you can see through that. So, and that was a part of that. Integrity was a big part of my recruiting, and training my guys, is that we want to do this thing the right way. We want to take people from A to Z, and whether they're this their first time buying experience or they're seasoned veterans in it, we want to be able to give whoever comes to us, a pleasant experience. And it's more, we're going to take your call 3 years after the closing's over with. And if you have a question about anything or something that we can help you with, that's what we're here for. And it really has taken off and been a positive part of our growing experience with the land stuff is
Well, it's interesting. Listen, I grew up. My dad was a home builder. My mom was a real estate broker. She had her own real estate company. So I grew up in the business. In fact, at one point, I got my real estate license before I decided to go off to pre med. But I look back at what made them successful. I watch you. Real estate, selling real estate is a lot like doing a show like we're doing now. And that is, authenticity is really important, because as you pointed out, if I talk about something I don't really know much about, believe me, the listeners are going to quickly humble me with, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. Same thing's true about real estate. People will figure it out. So they want you to be honest and ethical and high integrity and authentic. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Thad Miller. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors, and like I've said every segment today, Happy New Year to you as we all continue to barrel toward the rest of this hunting season in Mississippi. This time of year, man, especially with the cold weather coming through the center part of the United States, this time of year is when we get to really lay a claim on Mississippi being one of the finest places to hunt and fish in the United States. That's why I think we're the capital of the outdoors. You may be able to get a mule deer that you can't get here, or an elk that you can't get here naturally. But boy, when you get into all the other aspects of hunting and fishing, we will beat every state in the nation. There is no doubt about that. Hey, listen, are you looking to purchase the perfect piece of hunting property, upgrade your farm equipment, or have you been dreaming of owning your slice of heaven out in the country? Look no further than Mississippi Land Bank for your financing needs. For more than 100 years, farming families and landowners in North Mississippi have turned to Mississippi Land Bank for all kinds of financial solutions, whether it's for land, equipment, or livestock. For more information, visit mslandbank.com or go by and see one of their friendly staff at any of their offices. We're thrilled to have Mississippi Land Bank as one of the sponsors of this show, and especially thrilled to have Open Season Properties as the sponsor of the studio for this show. And from Open Season Properties, today, someone I've been really waiting for a few weeks, if not months, to have on the show is Thad Miller, because I know him to be someone who loves the outdoors, and I've been wanting to tell his story. Anyway, Thad, it's been fun visiting with you. So, how has your hunting season been so far?
It's been good. I mean, deer hunting and duck hunting, and of course, all out west, everyone did well. So it's been a good year.
So when you think about, I know you hunt ducks in Arkansas, and then you do some hunting in Mississippi as well. But as it relates to that, how is your duck and deer? Talk to me a little bit more about your duck and deer season. I know you sent me a video a few weeks back showing some ducks that you videoed, and I don't think I've seen that many ducks in one frame in a long time. But you've had the benefit of hitting it right in some areas, haven't you?
We have been blessed and lucky to just fall in those spots, but they're in Arkansas, and they've been there, kind of east of Crowley's Ridge and north of I-40, Missouri, Tennessee corridor right there. There's probably 500,000 ducks holding right there right now. So, now I'm sure a lot of those ducks are being pushed on further south. And as you got report this morning, we're getting new ducks. We're getting new ducks there. Yesterday afternoon, we had 200,000 ducks sitting on our stretch of the water there on the St. Francis. So it's been a good season.
So you mentioned you actually talked to someone this morning. What did they experience?
They had a really cold plunge this morning. They were going in to hunt a timber area, and the ATV bridge collapsed on them. And luckily, no one was hurt. Everybody got out okay. But one of those situations you never can be too prepared for something like that. And luckily, it was another ATV there with them, and they were able to get them back in. The guys that got wet and cold and sub-freezing temperatures, they got them back and got them warmed up and all, but they didn't get to continue their hunt. But they live to come back and do it tomorrow, so that's a good thing.
So that, as we know, and I talk about this on the show a lot, I end every show telling people always put safety first. What's interesting about the plunge that you're talking about, when that ATV bridge broke, so their initial reaction was, okay, we're okay. Nobody was injured, and that's great. But then the second concern begins to settle in, and that is they're wet. And was it in the 20s this morning where they were?
Mid-teens to low 20s, so it was cold.
Yeah. So as we know, hypothermia can set in really, really quickly. So I'm sure their primary objective once they went into the water was to get uncold as quickly as possible. But we have to think about that. When I was president of the Mississippi Wildlife Federation many years ago, I got to work in the community with a man who went hunting with his dog and a friend of his, and they were hunting on the edge of a river. Something happened. They went into the water and they both died. And I mean, what we imagine is maybe the dog tipped the boat or something like that happened. And I'm sure that obviously when they tipped into the water, they realized immediately they had a problem because they while they weren't real far from where they had launched, getting there without a boat was going to be impossible, and they were wet in the water. We should probably think more about, especially during duck season, what happens when you're in a situation like your friends were in this morning. Thank God they were in a situation where they could get somewhere and get warm quickly. But it's something we have to think about, isn't it, Thad?
It is, and this is a place that we just acquired this year, and it was a bridge that was already there, and we're steadily doing improvements to the place. But that's one of those things that you don't, we that was a thing that we would fix next year as we got our levees and all like we wanted them. It was just this year was just a get by process that we're going through, and so there's things that's going to happen that you can't prepare for. You do your best you can, but something like that's just a freak accident and you never know. And luckily, there, what if they'd have been there just one ATV, and miles back to the safety of the truck, it might have been a different story that we were telling here. So.
Yeah, it's something everybody needs to think about, especially with all this cold weather coming into Mississippi now. Again, it's going to make for some great duck hunting. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Houston Havens, who was on the show with me recently, he said, "Man, we're set up. If we can just get some cold weather to push some ducks down, we got water here, we've got food." I thought they've done a great job in the WMAs as it relates to ducks. In fact, one of the things that Houston and I did is we went down every single public duck hole in Mississippi and sort of what the experience has been so far. In fact, we'll follow up in a week or so, and we'll come back and go back through that list again. I bet the numbers are going to be much better. I mean, obviously they're going to be much better, but they're documenting those. But the amount of time and energy the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks puts into the public duck hunting is really awesome. And people who can't do like you do and hunt private land, some of the best hunting in this state is actually on public property. And we're lucky that we've got so much public property to hunt, aren't we, Thad?
We are. Of course, I grew up next to Matthews Break there between Sidon and Kruger, and hunted there in Mount Mason all my life. And it's we're lucky that we have that. And we have a good wildlife board that trying to expand those wildlife refuges, and it's a feather in the people like Chris's hat that they're always trying to improve our public properties here in the state of Mississippi, and we we support that 100%. However we can help, we want to help in that too. So.
Thad's mentioned Chris Gurris, who's on the foundation board. John Taylor's the president of that board. I've said this so many times on this show that the foundation is composed of volunteer leaders from across the state who obviously don't get paid a dime. They're there to raise money and to help fill gaps for the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And they've done such an admirable job with that, with things like the Governor's Hunt and other efforts that they have. They have a big fundraisers that are going on just about at any given time. But they've done tremendous work, and they've supported the agency in efforts like creating the Phil Bryant WMA that has was a tremendous add-on for the state of Mississippi. Chris was involved in that with a number of other people who were super dedicated to that cause. Nature Conservancy worked closely with them on that. But yeah, man, we're lucky to have so many dedicated folks. Every now and then people will say, if I'll have someone on here talking about private land, and they'll say, well, duck hunting is just for rich guys. Well, that's true that some great duck holes are owned by some rich guys. But the state of Mississippi happens to own a bunch of great duck holes too, that if you're not rich, or maybe you can't afford to go out and buy your own land, you can go hunt some of the best public hunting in the entire United States. It's incredible. I mean, we're at any given time, wherever you are in Mississippi, you're maybe 10, 20 minutes away from some fascinating duck hunting. I know my son, when he was at Ole Miss going to law school, he would get up at like 2:30, 3 in the morning and drive to some public places, and it would be frozen, and he'd be waiting in line, waiting for them to open the gate. And he had some incredible duck hunts. He had some incredible turkey hunts on public land while he was going to law school at Ole Miss. But we're blessed. And you add to that the over 1 million acres the U.S. Forest Service has. In fact, Shannon Collardi is going to be joining me on the show soon to talk about how the U.S. Forest Service is doing these days. But we're really lucky to live in this state. These are all reasons why this is the capital of the outdoors in America. Hey, when we come back, we'll have the final segment with my friend Thad Miller. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. We appreciate you joining us today, and again, Happy New Year to you. Listen, no matter what kind of hunting you're into, whether you're looking for 40 acres or 4,000 acres, if you're looking to buy land, you need someone you can trust. He's a hunting land hunter. Call Lake Pickle from Open Season Properties at 601-750-2487. We're thrilled to have Lake as one of the sponsors of this show, as we are coming to you from the Open Season Properties studio. And we're thrilled to have Thad Miller from Open Season Properties with us today. And, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, part of the deal for being a sponsor, not necessarily be on the show, but I've learned a lot about Thad through Lake and Jordan and through our mutual friend, Chris. I eventually, wanted to get him on my show just to talk to him and learn about his love of the outdoors. And it's been terrific today. So many of us share that same thing, that part of our DNA that's connected. When we're early in life, we get the opportunity to fall in love with the outdoors, and we never lose that love. So I just want to thank you, Thad, for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you for having me on, Ricky. I really appreciate it.
Hey, listen, as we were talking about the duck hunting, great opportunities across this state, especially in public land. The deer hunting here is not bad either. And as I was mentioning to you, I love to hunt deer. I love hunting ducks too, but I like the solitude of being in the woods, and being a climber of certainly a leaning ladder stand and getting in the woods. And even if I don't see anything, just enjoying the birds and the squirrels. Where I hunt, thank goodness I get the opportunity to see a lot of deer and get to watch their behavior. But that's a cool thing about what makes Mississippi the capital of the outdoors, is the deer hunting world that we have here, isn't it?
It is, and it's and we're blessed and I love it in the same way too. I like to go bow hunting and in the solitude, and also as a fairly new grandparent, I love to take the grandkids and sit in a box stand and play dollhouse till the deer come out, and then get serious with the deer when they do show up. So
what I love the dollhouse thing. That's so awesome. And one of the things when I'm with Will Primos or Cuz Strickland or folks from Mossy Oak or whoever, One of the things I love, man, is that we don't talk a lot about kids bringing iPads and iPhones to the stand. Kids that might be hooked on them. They get in the stand and they want to watch. They want to watch what's going on. And in the case of your granddaughter playing a dollhouse with her, that's I love that part because it means be yourself, enjoy. You want her to love it. You want her to love. You want her to want to come back. What does she call you, incidentally?
I'm T-Dye.
T-Dye. What
Yeah.
is that? Tell me about that.
Well, it was it was supposed to be T Diddy when it started out, and my grandson shortened it to T-Dye, and the rest of them have caught on. So it was T-Dye is now the what I'm called. So some people want to be called Papa or Granddaddy or whatever. And I just whatever they call me is fine, and T-Dye kind of stuck. So
Yeah, they call me Pawpaw and my wife GGB, and it's like T Daddy. It's a little bit Tita, excuse me. It's a little bit like that. She was going to be called something else. One of them called her GGB one day. It stuck, and that's the way it is today. But when your granddaughter's with Tita in the future, she can know she can go hunting and maybe see some great deer, but she gets to also I have an opportunity to play dollhouse with you. But see, that's the way to keep her engaged. And most parents and grandparents have figured that out. That getting them in that shooting house and then just enjoying life together. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
it is. I mean, that's part of it.
Hey, so look, for people who are in our on SuperTalk TV or Facebook or YouTube, they can see what I'm looking at behind you. But I see a stone wall, and I'm assuming that's an elk, and there's some other animals behind you. But you got quite a collection there.
Well, thank you. It's a lifetime of trying to experience new experiences. Like you said, it's not about the the hunt, and it's about the hunt, not the harvest. So,
Yeah.
but I've been lucky and blessed, and to be able to travel a lot around the world, and but I love Mississippi, and no matter how far you travel, um, home is home, and being born here, and I mean, it's just our culture. It's more people hunt in the state of Mississippi than anywhere that I've ever been in the world, and I've been blessed to go a lot of places. But um, it was why I was successful in the military, because it was just just an extension of what I grew up with. It was being outdoors, and it just teaches you so much about the rest of life. If you pay attention to what's going on, and I I knew in all my training in the military and all that maybe they weren't really trying to drown me or whatever, and that from my experience from the outdoors, that I was going to make it through all that. So,
Well, Scott, I know that every mount has a story behind it, but listen, we're out of time for today. Thad Miller, it's been a pleasure to get to know you, but I really appreciate you joining us today.
thank you, sir. Appreciate you having.
It's been a wonderful conversation with Thad Miller of Open Season Properties. Listen, have a great week. And look, with the cold weather, man, please put safety first. Unload those guns. Don't ever leave a bullet in a gun. I don't in any way. Put safety first. God bless you, and we'll see you next week.